Okay, part 3. Now, how is kids with autism treated by the school system here in New Brunswick?
Well, there's no perfect school system for dealing with autistic children, but in New Brunswick we've come a long way, and there's still problems that exist, but we've made great progress as well. In the last 3 to 4 years, the Department of Education has been training teacher aides, for example, in autism-specific training at the University of New Brunswick College of Extended Learning, and they've also been training some resource teachers as well, so that the autistic students can be working with aides and resource teachers who actually know something about autism specifically and know how to interact with them and know how to teach them and so on.
Do they put them in the same classroom?
In some cases.
Why?
Well, there's a number of different reasons. One is because that child presumably has the ability to function effectively in the classroom. I assume in most cases as well their parents want that. Many parents want their autistic child to be in the classroom. And in other cases, and for example in my case, my son is not in the classroom and he was taken out at my request.
Your request?
Yes.
Your request?
Correct.
And is there a lot of parents that would support you and say you are wrong? Or
well,
you are right? Or, you know?
There's parents who oppose that type of approach. There's an organization called the Association for Community Living, which in particular believes that all children should be in a regular classroom, and they're very well connected in New Brunswick.
So they could be socialized and whatever. They
yes.
see the problem, the kids has problems, so they will accept them, right?
Well, what their belief is that the child develops better in the classroom than outside the classroom, and they also feel that if you don't have that, then there's no protection for the child and so on. The problem is for many autistic children, and again I should watch my quantity there, but for some, the mainstream classroom is not the best learning environment. And there are some studies on it. Some people, experts in autism disorders, have done studies that said that for some autistic children the mainstream classroom is not appropriate.
For some?
Yes, and there's some good reasons for that. And there's good reasons why my son is not in the mainstream classroom. Some autistic children are easily overwhelmed by sounds, sights, noises. Any kind of distraction can cause them to react quite severely. My son used to bite himself on the hands and wrists. At a certain point, almost every day, he was coming home for a while with bite marks, self-inflicted bite marks.
So he was in the so-called normal class at first?
He was, yes.
And he had problems?
Yes, he had very serious problems. As I started to say, he's overwhelmed by too much stimulation, too much environmental stimulation, like sights and sounds and so on. So some autistic children are very sensitive to that kind of stimulation. They're overwhelmed easily in a coffee shop, a shopping mall, a mainstream classroom. That's the case with my son. So for that reason, we took him out of the classroom. Other reasons are also there. One, he's not learning on the same level as the other kids in the classroom. He's learning different material. So it's essentially a different class going on anyway. And what we do with Connor, he learns most of his academic type material in his own area with his teacher aide. But he does go into common areas where the other children are for very specific tasks for limited periods of time. So he'll go into the gymnasium, he'll go into the cooking area at the school, he'll go into the library, he'll go into common areas, and the other children see him and they say hi to him when I take him to school. When I take Connor to school, it's often the case that other kids say, "Hi, Connor," as he's coming into school, so they see him. He's interacting with other kids and socializing to the extent he can.
Why would the school system, I know Connor, I've seen him, why would the school system put him in a regular class grade 1? Is it because of constitutional rights?
Well, when he started in grade 1, that was the system. Effectively, we had a total inclusion policy, and I say effectively because it wasn't necessarily written specifically that way in policy statements. But the belief in New Brunswick has been strongly entrenched that all children should be in the regular classroom, and there's some very influential people that have led that belief.
We'll get to that in the next part.